Hi, welcome again to the Old Principle. Today we are going to look at lesson number 144. It's Greyfriars Bobby. Okay, do you know what that is? That's a dog, but it's a 雕像. It's a statue of a dog. Now, do you know why there's a statue of a dog? Well, today I'm going to tell you the story. Well, I will need some help. So my helper has just come. Here's the storyteller. By the way, she has seen the film.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen the film, but I've heard of the story a little bit. So she will be able to read it with a lot of emotion, and then maybe we can get her at the end of the story to share a little bit about her impressions when she watched the movie. But for now, Greyfriars Bobby, number 144.
John Gray, a policeman, Bobby, in Edinburgh, Scotland, was ordered to find a watchdog. He chose a Skye Terrier about 6 months old. Gray called him Bobby because he was a police dog. Bobby became part of John Gray's life. The shaggy hair from his long body hung over his eyes with a stump of a tail. He was tenacious, distrusted strangers, but devoted to family, courageous, but not aggressive, and loyal. The winters in Edinburgh can be harsh, and in October 1857, Auld Jock, or John Gray, and Bobby were often cold and wet. Auld Jock developed a cough that was diagnosed as tuberculosis. He became weaker, and by February 8, he wasn't able to rise from his bed. Bobby lay at his feet. That evening, Auld Jock died. John Gray had served nearly 5 years as police constable, one of the longest-serving constables of his time. James Brown, keeper and gardener, remembered Gray's funeral. He said the Skye Terrier was one of the most conspicuous mourners. The grave was closed, and the next morning he found Bobby lying on it. James drove him off. Graveyard rules didn't permit dogs. Next morning, Bobby was there again. The third morning was wet and cold. James took pity on him and gave him food. Bobby made the kirkyard, or the churchyard, his home. For 14 years, day and night, rain or shine, the loyal canine virtually lived on top of his master's tomb. The little Skye Terrier left the site for only an hour at a time to visit his 2 friends, the restaurateur who fed him and the sexton who built a shelter for him at the cemetery. In tribute to his lifelong loyalty and devotion, they buried him in the kirkyard beside his master. Today, near the kirkyard, stands a memorial fountain and a statue of the little dog, now known as Greyfriars Bobby.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back to that opening picture because I want you to keep in mind, you see what's behind here? 公寓, apartment buildings. Because Mrs. Ash is going to tell you about a little bit about the story, so you'll just want to remember that there were a 公寓就在这个教堂旁边的 okay, and 在这个墓地地也墓地的旁边呢 okay, with that we go on with the story. John Gray, a policeman. 在苏格兰 is a policeman is a bobby. In England too, bobby. Okay, a policeman in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Edinburgh, 苏格兰. Okay, 苏格兰 is Scotland. At least I remember that. He was ordered 他的这个警官就命令他 find a watchdog 找一个看门的狗 Okay, so he did. He looked for that going on. He chose a Skye Terrier. A Skye Terrier. Actually, there is a name for a Skye Terrier, Fuquan. Fuquan 小猎狗. About 6 months old, so it wasn't very old. It was very young, 6 months old. Gray called him Bobby. Okay, what does Bobby mean? Bobby means policeman because he was a police dog. 警察的狗 or 警犬 Okay, Bobby became part of John Gray's life, of course. Usually a dog and his master, 他的主人 become very, very close, very, very close. And so John Gray's life and it was the life of the dog. They lived and they worked together. The shaggy hair, 出草的这个毛发 Okay, the mao on the dog. Okay, shaggy. Actually, the other day I saw a shaggy dog. I mean, shaggy, of course, 粗糙的毛发. This dog had shaggy hair that went all the way down to the ground. Now, Bobby didn't have his fur wasn't that long, okay? The shaggy hair from his long body, 长的身体, hung over his eyes, right over his eyes. So he had to look through his hair a little bit with a stump of a tail. 他的尾巴好像这个树墩一样. Stump is 树墩, but it also is a way of 形容短短的. Okay, so he had a stump, a very short tail going on. He was tenacious. What does tenacious mean? That means he doesn't give up easy. There's a better definition of the word, but I can tell you the simple explanation is tenacious means they don't give up easy. And he distrusted strangers. Okay, 他不信任这个陌生人. But he was devoted to family. Okay, 对他的家里的人是很忠诚的. Courageous, 勇敢, 但不是好斗, aggressive. Man, this is quite an explanation. Most people don't describe their dogs like this. This was a very special dog. And very loyal. Loyal, 就是忠诚. And of course, devoted and loyal, very similar in this place. Devoted to the family, loyal to the family. Going on, in the winters of Edinburgh, 城市 can be very harsh. 很严酷, 很寒冷. Okay, harsh. And in October 1857, now we're talking a long time ago, 1857, All's Jock, that's John Gray, All Jock was his Scottish name. Scottish name. Okay, All Jock and Bobby were often 经常又冷又湿了，又冷又湿。甚至于呢 going on, Old Jock developed, so developed, in this case developed, 就生了生病生了 what? A cough, 咳嗽. So he started coughing, which was 诊断 diagnosed. 诊断 means that they discovered or they decided that it was 肺结核病 Okay, tuberculosis. In those days, tuberculosis was not easy to cure. 好不容易治疗. Some people were cured, but it was very, very difficult. Going on, he became weaker and weaker. And on February 8, he was not able to rise from his bed. 等于说他没办法起床. This is February 8, 1857. And by nighttime, he had died. Where was Bobby all during this time? It says here that Bobby was at his feet. So here is a very loyal, can you say 忠犬? 犬 meaning dog, a very loyal, devoted dog, and he was right there. In the evening, Old Jock died. Go ahead. John Gray had served nearly 5 years. Nearly 差不多5年服务. 他就服务5年, 差不多5年. As police constable. Police constable is 警察. Sometimes we say constable. Sometimes we say policeman. Sometimes we say police constable. It's all about the same. Constable and a policeman are the same thing nowadays. They may have been a little bit different later in earlier days, but now they're the same. He served 他服务的时间 one of the longest serving constables of his time. 那个时代他服务的是最长的时间。One of the 其中最长的一个。Go ahead. James Brown, keeper and gardener. Okay. Now, keeper and gardener. Okay. So, what is a keeper and a garden? Okay. 园丁 is a gardener, right? Keeper, 看门人，看门的一个人 and gardener remembered Gray's funeral. He remembered 他的丧礼，他记得很清楚。Okay? He said that the Skye Terrier, okay, what is this? 父犬的这个狗啊，这个小猎狗。This is Bobby the dog. He said he remembers Bobby the dog as the most conspicuous mourner. Conspicuous, okay? 人人所注意的 okay? Conspicuous, 突出来的很鲜明的 okay? mourners, okay, 送葬者. So he is there at the 葬礼. Go ahead. The grave was closed, and the next morning he found Bobby lying on it. The grave, of course, when you dig a hole, 就挖一个洞, and you put the casket, 这个棺材, you put the casket down inside, okay, and then you put the dirt back on top, 这是埋起来, okay? The next morning, he found Bobby. Who's Bobby? Bobby is the dog. Bobby is the dog lying, okay, on top of it. 他就躺在那个地方. James drove him away. James drove him away. 把他赶走. Okay, drove him off. The graveyard rules didn't permit dogs. 这个墓地的规矩不容许狗在那个地方啊. Okay, so this is the dog. The dog somehow in his mind realizes that his master was there, and albeit dead. Okay, going on. The next morning, Bobby was there again. 第二天又是来到那个地方. Going on. The third morning, 第三天早上 was wet and cold. 又冷又湿，又下雨了啊. James took pity. To take pity on something means to 可怜这个小狗 and gave him some food. 给他一些东西吃，一些食物吃. Bobby made the churchyard, his home. Now, I must tell you that in England and in Scotland, the 墓地 坟墓的地方，这个墓地 is often in the churchyard, 就是在那个教堂的院子里. So this is where it is. So when it says here, the loyal canine, okay, well, we're already to the next one, but for 14 years, day and night, he lived inside, or lived at the kirkyard, or the churchyard, 这个教会的院子里. 14 years, day and night, 白天，这个晚上 rain 下雨或太阳. The loyal canine. Okay, canine is another word for dog. 犬类. Okay, 这个忠犬, the loyal dog, virtually 几乎 lived on top of his master's tomb. 住在他 master's 主人的坟墓. That's where he lived for 14 years. Going on. The little Skye Terrier. Skye Terrier is the name of the dog. 那个小猎狗 left the site. 就离开那个地方 site is a 地方. 离开那个地方 only an hour at a time. 只能够一个小时离开 at a time. In other words, he would only leave for 1 hour and then he'd come back. Okay, to what is he going to do? 去拜访 two friends. 两个朋友. Okay? The restaurateur, okay, restaurant. There's a 饭店的老板. Okay? Restaurateur is a 老板. Okay? It's a person who runs a restaurant. 他有一个饭店，一个餐厅啊。Who fed him? 这个给他喂饱，给他吃东西。And the sexton, okay, sexton. Yeah, we don't use this word very often. Sexton is the keeper of the church. Okay, the person 管这个教堂的那位. It may be the same as this earlier person. It may be the keeper and the gardener. That's hard to say. But sexton is the keeper of the church. Who built a shelter, 就盖了一个庇护所, just a little thing, so when it rains, there would be no rain on top of him. Okay? At the cemetery, 就是刚好在这个墓地那个地方，他就盖了这个庇护所。Go ahead. In tribute to his lifelong loyalty. Tribute. Now that's a good word. Tribute. 致敬. 致敬. And if you want another word, it 有一点像赞美, but 致敬. Okay, and tribute to his lifelong, that means all of his life, 很忠诚. All of his life. How many years? You remember? 14 years. And devotion. Okay, devotion is 忠誠. In this case, loyalty and devotion are very, very similar, aren't they? In this case, 忠誠. They buried him, so the dog eventually died. They buried him, 埋在什么地方? In the kirkyard. Where's that? In the 教会的院子. Beside his master, 在他的主人的旁边呢. Okay, 他的坟墓的旁边呢. Go ahead. Today, near the kirkyard, the churchyard, 这个教会的院子里, stands a memorial, 纪念喷泉, 纪念 memorial, 喷泉, and a statue of the little dog. We saw that picture of the statue, didn't we? 我们看这个雕像, okay? The statue of the little dog, and he's now known as Greyfriars Bobby. Greyfriars Bobby. Now, I didn't see the film, but we'll see if Mrs. Ash can help recall a scene or two from the film. At least she was telling me just a few minutes ago about the children. So come here. And so you tell us what you remember about the children. Maybe just make it a little bit descriptive. We've got a couple minutes left here.
Well, I don't remember a whole lot, but what I do remember was when the children would get ready for bed, and they lived in the apartment buildings.
Okay, 这个公寓在后面是有公寓, and the children 准备睡觉的时候. Go ahead.
And it was kind of in probably the cemetery wasn't that big. And so there were buildings, this apartment buildings on probably maybe 2 or 3 sides.
Okay.
Across.
Maybe 四周围. Whatever the case is, there were apartment buildings all around this church.
So
And of course the church and the 坟墓的地方，这个墓地就是在这个院子里。
So the children got more and more used to seeing, as they looked out the window, this little dog sitting there on his master's grave.
So he saw the dog there. The children could see the dog. They saw that every day the dog was there. Yeah.
And more they loved this Bobby.
OK， 所以他们就爱上 Bobby 这只狗。
So what I remember very clearly was that when they were ready to go to bed at night, they would call out to Bobby, one after the other of these children from the different sides of the cemetery, and they would say, "Good night, Bobby." And another one would say, "Have a good sleep." And another one would say, "I love you." It's so darling.
Yeah. So really, what the situation is that the children, at the end of the day, they would open the window and they would say all of these things. Good night. I love you, and all of these things. So the children recognized that Bobby was a special dog, and that's the reason, of course, for the statue, 这个雕像, and it's also the reason why what? It's also the reason why they made a movie.
Yes.
Because it makes a very, very interesting movie. Okay, thank you. We gotta go. But before we go, we will share with people the email address, theoldprinciple@gmail.com. And 我们的网站是 www.theoldprinciple.org. Hey, we've enjoyed being with you, and we do hope that you will join us again.
Yes. Bye.